Welcome to Tinted Specs podcast. I'm Georgina, and joining me all the way from New Zealand is Huia Crosby, founder of Huia Holistic Health. Hi, Huia. Could you just tell everyone kind of where you're based in New Zealand and a little bit about what you do and your family?
Okay, kia ora. So, ko Huia aho. My name is Huia. I live in a place in New Zealand called Marlborough, and many of you around the world may know of that region because 75% of New Zealand's wine is produced in Marlborough. So it's at the top of the South Island, and we're on the East Coast. My background is I'm a naturopath, so my specialties are herbal medicine, nutrients. I do various massage forms. I also teach yoga, coming up 20 years actually, and I'm a Zumba instructor of 11 years. So it's pretty varied. I have two boys who are primary school, and a partner who's a chef and catering who's incredibly busy, and we have a dog. Okay, so
yeah, and as she just said, like she's got a busy day ahead of her as well. So to give Sandra's business mention, so that's called Karaka Kitchen, isn't it? Delicious food and goodies that I've seen on Instagram that are coming through. And I've been drinking Mudhouse wine from Marlborough, which I've been thoroughly enjoying. Yes, getting my New Zealand kick. And I suppose it's also worth mentioning that you are part Maori as well. So, and that your name is Maori, is from a Maori heritage. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So, in the very far north of New Zealand, Northland, is where my iwi or tribe is from. Which is, so New Zealand's quite interesting. We're a long, skinny country, so you get quite a lot of variety when you travel with different environments, and so it's a very varied country as well. So there's sand dunes and beaches and bananas grown there, and when it rains, it's quite sort of tropical rains. Whereas Marlborough, where I am, at the moment we're in winter. We've just hit the heart of winter, and we've got decent frosts at the moment, but beautiful blue skies and no wind, and so it's a varied country.
Yeah, no, I mean, I loved it when I went to visit, and I didn't see enough of it, and I didn't come to Marlborough, which was a shame. But what I really wanted to do was to touch base with
time.
Yes, exactly, definitely. And I really wanted to touch base with you because obviously how the pandemic kind of the process of what you guys went through it in New Zealand was very, very different to how we've been through it in the UK. So I just wondered if you could give us a little introduction to that.
Yeah, no problem. So because we are an island nation floating at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, where it's believed a third of the world surface is Pacific Ocean. So our boundaries and our borders are quite different. So when the first case of COVID arrived, it was in February. And I remember the kind of the country stood still that, there's a person in that hospital and COVID is here in New Zealand. And then the ferocious speed of which we're all accustomed to now of how it unfolded from that moment. Events started being cancelled, just one by one, like dominoes. They started falling over. The large restrictions began to be put in place by our government of no more than 500 people. So bigger events, we were due to run a half marathon, and that got called off. And there's a ride called the Grape ride where people cycling, and that's another huge event in Marlborough, and that was cancelled. So it started happening. We, my partner, we have a catering business. So as it built up in pace, it started getting quite ferocious. You would actually get chefs getting a run sheet off the wall, getting all the ingredients out with what they needed to prepare, going to grab their knife, starting to cut, and then a chef would come and grab the run sheet and say, it's been cancelled. So even in that moment, something they're about to start preparing. And we've got run sheets on the wall of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're always full. We do funerals, we do weddings, work shouts, birthdays, all sorts of things, involved in the community. Slowly you got to see the back of those clipboards until they were just brown. And, all our events were taken away. Our slogan with our business is connecting people through good food. And when the people can't connect, we don't have a business, actually. So, yeah. And on the exercise side of things, I was starting to do your head in. My Zumba classes were freakily gaining ridiculous popularity, which once upon a time would have been and fun and look at this wonderful vibe of people. But it was petrifying. I had the local paper contacting me saying, "Are you still doing Zumba?" And I said, "Yes, we are trying to socially distance. We've got hand sanitizer at the door and I'm asking people to spread out and dance." And then the reporter said, "Don't you think it's irresponsible?" But at the same time, we were still trying to enjoy life. That was pre-lockdown, and I would be pooing myself and think, "Oh, please, hardly anyone come to class." And then these ridiculous numbers were showing up where they weren't social distancing because it was the biggest numbers we'd seen, and I was dreading it. I was like, "Oh my goodness, oh well, show must go on." And then the yoga, oh my goodness, you've got mats and all sorts. So again, I had some hand sanitizer at the door and just said, keep your mats away. And it was just, anyway. But what happened, I can remember, so March the 20th, it was Saturday, March the 20th, and the Prime Minister called an emergency nationwide press release. And we all sat on the edge of our seats, and it's something like I've never known in New Zealand. And she introduced the levels, level 4 being emergency lockdown, level 3 being kind of no more than in schools. I can't remember whether the schools are open or not in level 3. No, they're not because it's, 10. Yeah. And level 2 is basically groups of no more than 100 and stuff like that. And level 1, which is what we enjoy at the moment, is basically borders are closed. So for New Zealand, we closed our borders. So she introduced that Saturday the 20th and we went straight into level 2. On Monday the 22nd at 2 p.m. we're going into level 4 in 48 hours. We're currently level 3. So it happened at this huge speed. We did a Zumba press release saying, "Don't worry, level 2, we'll still keep going." And we did say, look, if it shifts to that, we'll take it to an online platform. But yeah, it happened at such speed. And in fact, all the roads were congested after that meeting. There was a big accident going into our biggest town in Marlborough, Blenheim, where a truck, everyone was in shock and all the kids got sent home from school. I couldn't get back to my kids because the truck had this big accident. So the road was blocked, State Highway 1, our main road. And and I had to try and get my father to look after the boys who were home from school. But he was trying to socially distance because he's older. So he was trying not to be in touch with the kids, or because my mum's health she's immunocompromised. So he was trying to keep in the corner. We had a painter at our house that was in shock, and he was right in my dad's space trying to say, "What does this mean? And Dad was trying to keep away from the painter but help him." It was really, people were running around like headless chooks, not understanding. In 48 hours, it's a crime to meet up with your friend or to leave your house even. So it happened really quickly. So we went into emergency lockdown Thursday, the 26th of March. And in the days before that, police, and I was trying to do last minute jobs, dropping stuff off people's letterboxes, and they would be following me. And I felt like a flipping criminal, like delivering drugs or something like that, whereas I was just returning things before the lockdown to people in their letterboxes and stuff. But it was kind of feeling like a bit like a police state, even in the build up to that. And I was trying to get a temperature thing to measure our hospitality staff's temperature so we could try and keep going through emergency lockdown.
Did you manage to keep going through the emergency lockdown, the catering?
So the crazy thing was that it was like to the minute. So like I said, Marlborough is based on winemaking, and she announced emergency lockdown on the 26th of March, which is the Thursday. No, she announced it on the Monday, and basically on the Mondays was when we started catering to the workers. So a third of our business is tied up with and it happened like to the minute, where all through Marlborough's valleys and everything, the fruit was sitting there plump, ripe, and with the best tasting fruit profiles that we've known. It's this irony that this harvest had to come off those vines and had to be made into wine for the health of, and the economy of our region. So they let wineries do the harvest under the strictest, like people driving tractors or the like. They had to change their filters and their air vents every day. And they even we had to create these bubbles. And I know Villa Maria, for example, they rented the travel, like the RV travel. So each person had their own like caravan, and it was like a sea. It was like a holiday park. It was a sea of caravans.
Wow.
So people couldn't do anything like that. They had to stay within the perimeter of their vineyard. Yeah, so whole families were separated and they were living on site. So we had to work really, really hard. In fact, it was up to me, who was stuck at home with the kids, to satisfy the government that we had all these protocols in place and why we should still be able to keep going, because our chillers were rammed with food, which would go off. We had into, we catered like 1,000 meals a day when we were in our peak.
Yeah.
The vineyards. Yeah. So, we were allowed in the end, but it was ridiculously stressful. Yeah.
And did they come to you to collect the food, or was the food kind of...
No one could leave. Yeah, everything had to be done. And the drivers with, their masks and all sorts, and strictly each. And we were operating on a skeleton team. Normally we have more people.
Yeah.
So, because people were on site, not only did we do their lunches like we usually do, we were also doing dinners as well. So we were just working nonstop. We had like the meat team coming in, the vegetable team coming in. And
you just don't think of the logistics. So Villa Maria is obviously, for people that don't drink wine, is a delicious wine vineyard. And it sounds like you were incredibly busy then. So you were at home kind of homeschooling and coordinating the staff at Karaka Kitchen.
Yeah. So homeschooling and plus, as we said at the beginning, I'm a naturopath. So at home, I've got a dispensary here. I've got essential oils. I've got herbal tinctures, and I've got nutrients behind me. So I was also having people in the build-up trying to, especially people who were immunocompromised, freaking wanting to protect themselves as well as socially distancing. So, they were wanting their herbal remedies and natural remedies to boost their immunity. So I would be making up wee parcels for people and leaving them at my front door, and then emailing through an invoice or something that they would sort of come in and collect and leave. Yeah, but I felt quite good about that. Like in my home, when everything was closed and this lockdown was, I had, a full, just it felt really good for my family, was that, we had access to medicines at home. It's pretty cool.
So you had everything you need. And I bet everyone else was very happy as well, because it was such a stressful time. And I remember going to, a health food shop in London just when it was announced we all had to go home and work. And I just stocked up on vitamin C and fish oil and all that kind of thing. And it would be much easier if I'd had someone like you around the corner that could have given me, something that along similar lines that was, 100% healthy and kind of organic and all that kind of stuff. And I expect a lot of your clients were quite stressed out by level 4.
Yeah. Everyone was still in shock. even when I'm not sure what your alert system's like on your phones. Do
we
you
have
these horrible sirens that go off that go meh, meh, and everyone just freaks out as their phone goes off?
That sounds like we don't have that. It sounds like a volcano alert in South America. That so yeah, we have an app, but we don't all have it on. If you see what I mean, you have it on to log into places.
Oh no, but that's not the app. That's just the government sending you everyone a message. So yeah. So I think Auckland went into level 2 a few months ago, and at 10:30 on a Saturday night, they announced that, by 8 o'clock the next morning, Auckland's level 2. And yeah, anyone with a cell phone that's got back this huge, it's like a tsunami warning. It's these screaming sirens coming out of everyone's phone. So we were at a friend's 40th birthday, and it was a lovely full moon night, and everyone was outside, and there was a fire in the garden, and everyone's enjoying life and mingling. And next thing, we all just started screaming and getting this fright because our phones all just started going off saying Auckland level 2. Yeah. So even at midnight, emergency level 4, it was screaming at you. So that adds to people's anxiety, was these sirens and alarms.
Yeah. And so, and how long did level 4 go on for? Was it like a month or?
Yeah, so it was initially a month. So March the 26th, we went into it. And then it was a month. And then they were able to play a little bit because we've got holidays. There's a public holiday called Anzac Day. I think, we had two. And they moved it out for another 2 weeks after that. So it was 6 weeks altogether, level 4. Yeah. Wow. And that was premature compared to the rest of the world. Back then when we were in it, Italy had, we were aware of China and Wuhan, who seemed to bounce back quite quickly, wouldn't you say? But then Italy next got struck because we had a worker come from Italy. And I can remember just thinking, I'm not feeling so comfortable in his presence. But we were only just beginning our harvest. Okay. Incidentally, he's still here because we had lots of backpackers in New Zealand who many of them have just stayed on. They keep extending their visa by 6 months. Yeah. So many.
And where was that guy from? Was he from Wuhan, from China or Italy?
No, Milan in Italy.
Milan, yeah. Mm.
So back then when we went and there were posters up in our library and everything of warning, if you've been to China or northern Italy, please stay home for 2 weeks. That was it. But these posters were up all around. Yeah. So we went into emergency lockdown very, very early.
Yeah.
And it was very extreme, it seemed at the time. Because the rest of the world was still out and about. And when you looked at people's Facebook and stuff, people were still freely traveling their shots of the world and sharing their lives. However, as time's gone on, and New Zealand's had more freedom. Again, we've got those borders which were closed. And we started to show more photos as our lives opened up. And then many people had to consciously be respectful of people overseas and their loved ones overseas, and not to show how much fun they were having in their lives because they didn't want to rub it in as people were finding it tough overseas. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I was seeing a lot of big street parties happening and things like that, and I couldn't believe it. Because I did an interview with someone who lives in Dubai, and they also went into lockdown much earlier, and they came out and they're pretty much living life normally now, which I know you guys are in reality. And she said it was like watching a bad movie again and again, as all the decisions were made in all the other countries. And I expect that was the same with you guys in New Zealand. And I guess you've now got a travel bubble with Australia, which must be fantastic. But essentially,
it's been suspended.
Oh, crikey!
Yeah. No, it's a very flimsy bubble.
Yeah.
It's probably like one of my ones that doesn't actually form, or it might form a little bit and then the dog will come and bite it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like me personally blowing bubbles. That's how strong the travel bubble is with Aussie. No, so it's not on at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's people stranded on various sides of the Tasman.
Oh, there are. Yeah.
Kiwis that have gone over to visit and vice versa. And just I caught a little bit of the news before this started. And so, yeah, there are calls to open up parts of Australia and the hotspots to not fly with them at the moment. No, so it's, yeah. So the Cook Islands, which are the Pacific Islands, but, you know, it's well written in your insurance that if the situation changes, because Fiji, which previously didn't have, so they were COVID free this whole time until about a month ago. Again, I just caught on the news before this started that, no, their hospital is full and the bodies, beginning to, happen. Yeah. So, yeah, if people are going to the Cook Island, it's clearly written for your own quarantine, which is 2 weeks, before coming back into New Zealand, if it turns that way. Yeah.
And then people traveling in have had to go to the quarantine hotels, haven't they? But I think that not everyone has been able to come because there's not enough space, or, you know.
That's right. So it's only been in fairly recent times, maybe since the beginning of this year, that people have had to pay. But the New Zealand government and the New Zealand people were funding all of this quarantine, so it's been pretty massive. So no, you must book your place. And apparently it's a bit of a nightmare for Kiwis returning home, the spaces, you can't really book your airline ticket till you get that space. But then it's tough to try and book that space if the airline, it's a pretty tough position to be in, I understand.
Yeah. So we've got people from New Zealand obviously travel everywhere. So some people are trying to get back. You guys are all at home. But as the bubble opened up with Australia, some people are stuck in Australia. Some Aussies are stuck in New Zealand. And then you were saying about the Cook Islands, you were allowed to travel there.
Oh, you can. But that is now open.
Yeah.
But again, they don't have any cases at the moment. But
Fiji does.
Yeah, but it could end up being like Fiji, where finally they've got their COVID cases, and boom, it's they just don't have the infrastructure to like COVID. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Because so who would have thought like a year ago that it would happen so fast? So if you look back, because I know that you're very short on time this morning, so if you look back a year ago, how would is there any advice you would give yourself or your friends on how to cope with this?
No, to be honest, I loved the lockdown. Sorry, for some people it was horrible, but I find the pace of life just frenetic. Like it's very busy, and my children, it'd be interesting if I could get them out. But one in particular, my oldest, who's 11, he said, even last week, he said to me, God, I just really miss lockdown. Like we had so much fun. And in that time, I became the mum who I always dreamed I'd be. Like lovely. And taking time to listen and sitting by them. And so they had to do these school activities, and one of them was mindfulness. And I was like, okay, cool. So we got magnifying glasses, and we were creating fire with the sun's rays on paper.
Oh, wow.
How, your mind is like the sun, and it's all over the place. And if you can concentrate those rays, then, you can powerfully, channel your energies and ideally creatively learning about how to hone your thoughts and set goals and all the rest of it. And to this day, they love like writing their name with their magnifying glass. And anyway, I just got to do these cool kind of school lessons and making stuff and teaching them how to cook and going for big bike rides, which you kind of weren't meant to do. with the dog. The dog loved it, just all these cuddles and all this. And yeah, I taught Zumba. Oh, this was a Zumba. Like I got, by the end of it, I just got these thank you cards. It's hand drawn by.
Oh, and that was all online, was it?
Yes, it was all online. Oh. So we got to learn. You map out your stage, which is absolutely tiny, and you've got to, if you're doing your arm up, you kind of got to be get your arms in and get your legs in. So the tiny stages, and then when it opened up to live classes again, all the Zumba instructors found it this tiny little square, and you got quite good at dancing in your square. And then when it opened up to these big stages again, like you had to, when the beat was like that, you had to be way over in that corner and then over in that corner. With your jumps, you had to be touching the ceiling, whereas you were just used to like doing little arms and little moves. So our fitness was suffered massively once it returned. And I got stage fright with when it opened up again and just being in front of people. It just, you were really vulnerable, which gave you heaps of feedback. You could see yourself exercising. So, it was, I did yoga as well, which are these thank you cards. Oh. And so people were just really grateful. And the cards and the wee gifts at the end just moved you to tears, actually. Yeah.
I think the whole online, particularly yoga, I haven't done Zumba for ages, but the online yoga classes are just phenomenal because it's so important to help you to kind of relax. I have got a friend who she did a lot of online Zumba and during lockdown, and she absolutely loved it. And what I did want to speak to you about was the huge Zumba party you did with people from all around New Zealand. I was just blown away by that. I was so excited because I mean they looked like there were about 10 instructors, and I mean hundreds of people it looked like all together, probably the first time they've been in a big crowd like that. So I mean we're obviously just meant to be opening up, and I know that if I get surrounded by a lot of people I'm a bit like ooh, so it'd be quite good to do Zumba to kind of relax and kind of get used to being around other people so closely.
That was pretty massive. And as part of your conditions of encouraging people to buy tickets, when you bring a big Zumba instructor, there are terms of engagement, such as buying the airfares and agreeing to this accommodation and the food and the like. And it can be quite daunting holding events because, and you have to also, put the clause in there that the money's fully refundable and the like. But Zumba has turned out to be, I've taught yoga, like I said, for 20 years, but Zumba in particular was more the unifying thing for me. And when I look back on 2020, and I think it's international beats, it's rhythm, research shows that nothing lights the brain up like music does. And so you've got people dancing in their homes, and you cannot shimmy when you're all stressed out and anxious. You have to be flippin' chilled and just shimmy, and it's a pretty joyful thing. So Zumba was a powerful connector, and many people, like I met someone recently who was visiting from America, and she said, "Oh my goodness, I've clicked who you are. I was doing your Zumba in America. My sister said to me to do that." Oh wow! And I was at a big bonfire recently, and someone heard my nasally distinctive voice, and they just said, "Oh my gosh, I know your voice. Thank you for what you did over lockdown and everything." So pretty powerful connectors. But for me, Zumba really was the medicine. I mean, yoga's awesome. Well, I'll always teach that, but Zumba is it's upbeat and fun. And
I wish I'd done Zumba now. That's what was missing from my life, because you're right, you can't shimmy if you're
you still can.
Stiff as a board, can you? You've got to like shimmy. So I think that's going to be something I'm going to be looking into. So Huia, any other tips for people? So you talked about a bit about Zumba. There was one other thing. So obviously sometimes you do massage and things like that, which is obviously touch based. How did you, I don't know, did you find a solution to be able to do that, or how did you get around that?
Yeah. So no, the massage was because, like if you're doing making up herbal formulas for people, you can make it up, you can leave it at the door. I think when you've had people away from your home for so long, because I have a clinic, this is where I'm in my front room, letting people into your house, and you've got no idea who they've been connecting with or anything like that, it suddenly gets very personal and very intimate, obviously. So I wasn't so keen to massage, but a lot of people who do massage are older, particularly older women, and again, it's healing touch and hands-on. So if changes in levels would happen, they would be cancelling on you, an hour before and not feeling safe. So the massage really was off. Yeah.
And that's back to normal now, though.
Yeah. Well, so also after the pandemic, we expanded our business, which is hospitality. So we've got a cafe in town now, and people also were just like, whoa, you guys are brave or crazy or both, to expand into hospitality when the future of COVID is the great unknown. So many people question that, and obviously we question that. Life must go on, and I would like to think that we'd be able to adapt if level 4 kicks off again. In terms of homemade meals, we do frozen meals, like gourmet frozen meals, which are actually quite popular. And people fill up their wee baskets with really tasty, chicken korma and chicken pie, beef gluten. And I'd like to think if it happens, because we know COVID can happen like that, if it happens again, I would switch gears into, right, come on, let's not sit around and feel sorry for ourselves. What can we do about this? How can we diversify? And I would be going for that angle. Yeah. So, we did it, and we've got this business. So again, people now with Aussie and the bugs, New Zealand is viruses, not COVID as such. And they're thinking that, with last year it was a non-event because everyone was still, in their homes more. But I don't know, and we love Australians, but a few people have said it's because we've opened the borders. And the bloody Aussies have bought.
What did they bring over?
Yeah, they bought their blooming viruses. But the hospitals, so again, that is a thing. And the hospitals they're saying if your children are sick, we're reaching this viral situation we've got going on is it's up.
And that's what you mean, COVID by virus, or
no,
something else?
Other winter viruses.
Oh, of course, yes, because it's winter with you guys. So obviously winter viruses and stuff like that. So it's quite strange, isn't it?
Higher than usual, and they think that's the lockdown. I'm going to have to go shortly.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I was trying to.
Sonya's been ringing my
saying, "Hurry up, hurry
phone.
up.
We've got to be 10 minutes." My other son has to go to the next door neighbours to get to school. My other son has to come to the accountants before going to he's got a school production, and so he has to sit with us for an hour before going to the theatre.
But Huia, thank you so much. It's been really interesting. Learned a lot about New Zealand, and good luck with Karaka Kitchen. Say hi to Zander and all your Zumba, yoga, and hopefully one day I'll see you in New Zealand very soon. Take care. Bye.
And we'll catch you on the dance floor.
Yes. Take care. Bye-bye.